In 1953, a man fell from a hotel window in New York, taking America's biggest secret to his grave. But 22 years later, when his family learned the truth, the entire nation was shaken. On a cold winter night, Frank Olson fell from the 13th floor window of the Statler Hotel. The official explanation was suicide. But there was something he didn't know yet. Frank Olson was a CIA agent who had discovered America's darkest secret. When Nazi Germany was defeated in 1945, America's secret government operations immediately sprang into action. A covert project called Operation Paperclip was launched. Wernher von Braun and exactly 1,600 Nazi scientists were secretly brought to America. These weren't just rocket experts. Dr. Hubertus Struckhold was the chief doctor of Nazi aviation medicine. He had conducted freezing experiments on innocent people at Dachau concentration camp. He had submerged children in ice water and watched them die. This is where everything changed. Struckhold now worked at NASA and was known as the father of space medicine. Dr. Kurt Blome had headed the Nazis' biological weapons program. He had conducted plague experiments in concentration camps. Now he was working alongside Frank Olson at Camp Detrick. What would you do if you knew your neighbor was a Nazi doctor? America's secret government operations gave these scientists new identities. Their pasts were cleaned. Some were even smuggled out with Vatican help. This escape network called Ratline transported Nazi war criminals to South America. Allen Dulles was an OSS agent at the time, conducting secret meetings with Nazi generals. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Dulles would later become CIA director and manage America's darkest operations. But the truly shocking thing was, in 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles launched America's secret government operations' most sinister project, MK-Ultra. The goal was mind control. Every method was considered fair game to surpass Soviet brainwashing technologies. Project Director Sidney Gottlieb drew inspiration from Dr. Josef Mengele, nicknamed the White Angel of Death. The Nazi doctor had conducted genetic experiments on twins. Gottlieb would act with the same ruthlessness. At Montreal's Allen Memorial Institute, Dr. Ewan Cameron conducted horrific experiments. Patients were put into comas for weeks. Through a method called depatterning, their memories were completely erased. Cameron tried to turn patients into blank slates for reprogramming. Linda MacDonald was a 25-year-old young mother. She had gone to the hospital for postpartum depression treatment, but there was something she didn't know yet. After an 86-day coma, she wouldn't even remember her own name. She wouldn't recognize her children and would have to relearn how to walk. What you're seeing now is nothing. Cameron gave his patients 30-40 electroshocks per day, 20 times stronger than normal electroshock treatment. Brain cells were burning. LSD, PCP, mescaline, and other hallucinogens were forcibly administered. Through a method called psychic driving, the same message was repeated for hours, days. You're a bad mother. You're worthless. You're going insane. This injustice could happen to any of us. These patients had not consented. Families thought they would be treated. You won't believe this, but some patients would scream when they saw their own children. Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail. Frank Olson was a renowned scientist working on biological weapons at Fort Detrick. In November 1953, he attended a CIA meeting at Deep Creek Lodge. At this meeting, Sidney Gottlieb secretly gave LSD to participants. Olson's cognac had been laced with 70 micrograms of LSD. This was nearly 3 times the normal hallucination dose of 25 micrograms. But the truly shocking thing was that Olson learned the true extent of MK-Ultra projects at this meeting. You won't believe this. Olson had discovered that the CIA was conducting LSD experiments on its own military personnel. Some soldiers had been given lethal doses of drugs. A tennis professional named Harold Blower had been injected with a lethal amount of mescaline at New York State Psychiatric Institute and died. Olson had also learned that the CIA had used biological weapons in the Korean War. Strains of anthrax, smallpox, and botulism had been dropped on Chinese and North Korean territories. What would you do? Could you stay silent after learning this information? Tormented by conscience, Olson decided to tell his wife Alice everything. He wanted to resign from the CIA and teach at a university. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. This decision would become his death warrant. On November 9, 1953, CIA Operations Director Sidney Gottlieb took Olson to New York. Under the pretext of psychiatric treatment, they would see Dr. Harold Abramson. Abramson was actually a CIA contractor working on MK Ultra. This is where everything changed. At the Statler Hotel, Olson was staying in room 10118A with CIA agent Robert Lashbrook. Throughout the night, Olson was restless. Under LSD's influence, he was experiencing paranoia, constantly saying they're going to kill me. At 2:30 a.m., a terrible noise came, the sound of breaking glass followed by a scream. Lashbrook called the police. His voice was very calm. My friend threw himself out the window. He fell from the 13th floor, but there was something he didn't know yet. When the first police officer arrived at the scene, he encountered suspicious details. Olson's body was lying on the sidewalk, 10 meters from the hotel. This was too far a distance for someone wanting to kill themselves to jump. Dr. Dominic DeMaio, who performed the autopsy, encountered strange findings. There were cracks in the skull due to external impact. What you're seeing now is nothing. These cracks had formed before falling from the window. There were contradictions in Lashbrook's statements. He had told the first police officer I was sleeping, woke up to the noise. Then he said I was in the bathroom. To the FBI agent he said we were talking with Olson. Then he jumped. America's secret government operations had carried out a perfect operation. Olson had first been knocked unconscious with a blow to the head, then thrown from the window. The CIA's termination with extreme prejudice protocol had been implemented. Frank Olson's family believed for 22 years that their father had committed suicide. Alice Olson became depressed. The children were traumatized. This injustice could happen to any of us. Can you believe a lie could last this long? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. In 1975, America was shaken after the Watergate scandal. President Nixon had resigned. The public had lost trust in the government. Congress began investigating all intelligence agencies. The committee led by Senator Frank Church would expose the CIA's dirty laundry. This is where everything changed. CIA Director William Colby, realizing he no longer had the power to hide, decided to surrender. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. CIA Director Richard Helms had destroyed all MK Ultra documents when leaving office in 1970. 149 sub-projects had been carried out. Each one was a separate nightmare. LSD experiments were just the beginning. Sensory deprivation, electroshock, lobotomy, hypnosis, sleep deprivation, every form of torture had been conducted under the guise of scientific experimentation. 44 colleges and universities had participated in these projects. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, the most prestigious schools had collaborated with the CIA. Students had been unknowingly used as test subjects. 185 private researchers had received money from the CIA. Among these were famous psychologists, psychiatrists, and neurologists. They had chosen to harm patients instead of healing them, violating the Hippocratic Oath. 12 hospitals had been used as MK Ultra centers. Instead of healing patients, they had broken them. What would you do if you learned the government had lied to you like this? Could you trust your doctor? You won't believe this. When Linda McDonald went to court, she was 45 years old but like a 5-year-old child. 30 years of my brain were stolen, she said through tears. What you're seeing now is nothing. McDonald would ask, who is this lady when talking to her sister? The children she had given birth to seemed like strangers. She had to relearn walking, talking, even using the toilet. Velma Orlikov was also one of the victims. In the 1950s, she had gone to Dr. Cameron for depression treatment. When she returned home after 6 months, her husband didn't recognize her. Her personality had completely changed, her memory erased. This injustice could happen to any of us. Orlikov had forgotten her children's names. Most tragically, she didn't cry when her own mother died. Her emotional bonds had been severed. Gail Kastner had been exposed to experiments when she was a 19-year-old university student. Under the pretext of sleep therapy, she had been drugged unconscious for 86 days. When she woke up, she had even forgotten that she had graduated from a mathematics teaching program. David Orlikov described his wife Velma's condition. 25 years of our marriage were stolen. My wife died, but her body is still living. In 1988, the Canadian government paid a total of 100,000 Canadian dollars in compensation to 77 MK Ultra victims. The American government was more generous. It gave $750,000 to 9 families. But the truly shocking thing was that this money was nothing compared to MK Ultra's $25 million budget. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Dr. Ewan Cameron was never punished. He even managed to become president of the American Psychiatric Association. But the truly shocking thing was MKUltra didn't just stay in the past. America's secret government operations adapted to the digital age. The September 11 attacks provided the perfect excuse. In 2001, the Patriot Act suspended citizen rights. Under the pretext of fighting terrorism, all forms of surveillance were permitted. The NSA, FBI, and CIA were granted unlimited authority. In 2013, Edward Snowden exposed the world's largest surveillance network. The NSA was monitoring 70% of the world's population. This is where everything changed. It was no longer secret, but it continued. Through the PRISM program, Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft secretly collaborated. Every search, every message, every photo went to NSA servers. Through the X-Keyscore system, every movement on the internet was recorded. 1 trillion files had been stored. What would you do if you knew every move was being monitored? With Stingray devices, they mimicked cell phone towers. You didn't even know what your phone was connecting to. Your conversations, messages, location were all being stolen. What you're seeing now is nothing. The CIA's Weeping Angel program turned Samsung TVs into listening devices. They could listen to you even when the TV was off. Amazon Alexa, Google Home, these devices are constantly active microphones. If you say, "Hey Siri," your phone must be constantly listening to you. This injustice could happen to any of us. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. In the 1960s, America's secret government operations launched a new project, Operation Chaos. The target was its own citizens. Anti-Vietnam War activists, civil rights leaders, journalists, students, 300,000 American citizens were filed. Phones were tapped, homes raided, lives destroyed. You won't believe this, but the FBI tapped Martin Luther King Jr.'s phone for 6 years. Under the COINTELPRO program, suicide letters were sent to King. "King, you are a filthy abnormal. Your country, your world and your people hate you. You have only one way out." John Lennon was also filed. Just because of the Give Peace a Chance song and anti-Vietnam statements, the FBI tried to deport him from the country. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Black Panther Party leader Fred Hampton was killed in his Chicago home through FBI and police collaboration. He was 21 years old. 2 bullets were shot into his head while he slept. America's secret government operations promoted this murder as a police clash. The truth came out in Hampton's security detail was also an FBI agent who had drugged him with sleeping pills. Even the Weather Underground bomber organization was formed through FBI instigation. Provocateur agents drove peaceful activists to violence. Then they were arrested as terrorists. What would you do if you became a target for speaking out for peace? If you learned your friends were actually agents? What you're seeing now is nothing. The JFK files Trump released in 2025 revealed 60 years of secrets. Lee Harvey Oswald's CIA connections were now official, but there was something he didn't know yet. Oswald had been used in MKUltra's Artichoke sub-project. He had been selected by the CIA while serving with the Marines in Yokohama. The escape scenario to the Soviet Union was completely orchestrated. The Manchurian Candidate concept was real. It was possible to create programmed assassins through mind control. Oswald was the first example of this. Dr. Louis Jolyon West was one of MKUltra's leading doctors. He had also treated Jack Ruby. This is where everything changed. Ruby had started having delirium episodes after killing Oswald. West had given Ruby antipsychotic drugs. Actually, these were memory-erasing serums. Before his death, Ruby had screamed, "They made me crazy." Sirhan couldn't remember anything after killing Robert Kennedy. Sirhan's name also appeared in MKUltra files. Dr. William Joseph Bryan had programmed Sirhan under the pretext of hypnotherapy. What you're seeing now is nothing. James Earl Ray, Martin Luther King's killer. Arthur Bremer, George Wallace assassination attempt. John Hinckley Jr., Reagan assassination attempt. All of their mental states were suspicious. You won't believe this, but all these assassins had been treated by mysterious psychiatrists before their assassinations. Coincidence? What would you do? Could you ignore so many coincidences? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Facebook's establishment was no coincidence. The CIA's LifeLog project was shut down on February 4, 2004. Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook on the same day. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. Peter Thiel was Facebook's first major investor. Thiel was also the founder of Palantir Company. Palantir made surveillance software for the CIA and NSA. Facebook data was directly transferred to Palantir. In-Q-Tel, the CIA company, makes technology investments. Google, Amazon, Tesla, Netflix, Uber, all have CIA money in their startup capital. What would you do if you knew your social media account was actually a surveillance tool? The Cambridge Analytica scandal was the visible tip of the iceberg. Data from 87 million Facebook users had been stolen. Elections were manipulated with this data. Trump's victory, Brexit's passage. The TikTok ban isn't just about fear of China. America's secret government operations doesn't want to lose its monopoly. They got uncomfortable when the Chinese played the same game. What data was used in ChatGPT's training? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Every conversation, every search, every email was recorded and taught to artificial intelligence. AI's brain was built with your data. Through Project Maven, the Pentagon uses Google's artificial intelligence in drone attacks. AI automatically makes killing decisions. Human intervention is not required. The Neuralink project targets brain-computer connection. Elon Musk's Saving Humanity project is actually mind-reading technology. America's secret government operations is now preparing to access your thoughts too. With quantum computing, encryption systems are collapsing. Bitcoin, blockchain, all security systems will become meaningless. What you're seeing now is nothing. With deep-fake technology, the distinction between real and fake is disappearing. You won't be able to trust any video, photo, or audio recording anymore. What would you do if you couldn't distinguish truth from fake? This is where everything changed. This story has no end. America's secret government operations grow stronger every day. MK Ultra was physical torture. Now there's digital manipulation. More effective, more hidden, more widespread. Frank Olson's son Eric, at 70 years old, still seeks justice for his father. The documents released in 2025 definitively prove the murder. But it's too late now. The culprits are dead. The files are closed. Linda McDonald died in 2019 at age 90. Until her last breath, she couldn't fully remember her children. The CIA had paid her $77,000 in compensation. The price for 40 stolen years was $5 per day. This injustice could happen to any of us. Do you think the CIA stopped these operations? They just hide them better. As security guards approached, what they saw when the last document was opened. In 2024, the CIA acknowledged Havana syndrome cases. It was confirmed that American diplomats were attacked with microwave weapons. Who has this technology? Who is using it? While reading this text, your digital footprint was recorded. Is your phone camera currently active? Is the microphone working? America's secret government operations is watching you right now. Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, these are constantly listening. Do you trust privacy settings? You know they even tapped Edward Snowden's phone. Face filters and Instagram stories are actually collecting biometric data. Even TikTok dances are movement analysis data for AI. Every app on your phone is a surveillance tool. Will you be the next victim of this system? MK Ultra 2.0 has already begun. This time laboratories aren't needed. Your phone is enough.